First of all, I have come to the I have come to the understanding that Concordia University has been well positioned by God's grace to undergo this transition in presidents. Concordia has been distinctive in the recent past in having consistent, good presidential leadership for so long a time, almost 24 years. That's unheard of, or almost unheard of in higher ed. One of the legacies that President Ferry left the university is that it has become a more mature institution that is not dependent on the loss of any one person. We have good people at every level of the institution who are both committed to Concordia's Lutheran, LCMS, Christian mission, and committed and dedicated to the success of our students. We have strong leadership at the department, the school, and the executive levels, and on both campuses. Finally, the institution is structured to endure. Second of all, I want to share that Concordia is experiencing a good academic year, and we can see that from several different perspectives. First of all, student enrollment in both undergraduate and graduate academic programs have been holding pretty steady at just under 7,000 students, despite at least some evidence of the demographic cliff beginning to have an impact on our demographics, and also despite the fact that we have not been able to enroll and recruit international students in the way we have in the past. Second of all, our university has in the recent past put significant resources into our student retention and completion efforts, and we are beginning to see the impact of those efforts. We are better able now to fulfill the promise of helping Concordia students succeed and complete their academic goals here at Concordia. Third, Concordia continues its strong efforts to prepare students for church work and pre-seminary programs in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. Concordia, our two campuses, continue to have the largest number of church work and pre-seminary students of any of the Concordias. Now, its numbers are on a 15 or so year decline, representing in some ways the numerical decline in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. At the same time, we are very proud to be involved in an LCMS initiative to encourage more young people to consider church work vocations, and that clearly is part of our strategic plan to be the church's school in preparing young men and women for vocations in the LCMS church. At the same time, Concordia's campuses are seeing growing ethnic and racial diversity among our students, and that really reflects on the same trends, demographic trends across our country. Again, per our strategic plan, we are preparing these students, we are providing them with a strong Lutheran and excellent Lutheran education to all of our students the best that we can. Let me share some good news about COVID. As is probably true in your neck of the woods, COVID seems to be receding at this point, making less and less of an impact on our teaching and learning on our campuses. While there could possibly be another variant or some to function as close to normally as possible, we are certainly looking at this as an endemic. You should be aware that we have learned some good lessons as a result of COVID, both in how we work with each other and how we communicate, but also I know the faculty has been working pretty hard at figuring out what lessons they have learned about teaching and learning because of the COVID-induced virtual and blended opportunities. Student. This quotation, I believe, demonstrates the impact that a Concordia education can have on our students. Here's his quote. On my first day of classes, there were professors who prayed for students before starting to teach content. At that moment, I knew that I wasn't just a number at a large university. I am treated as a person at a small university. I fell in love with that feeling and know that in this community, I can continuously strengthen my faith and have a Jesus-loving community surrounding me. Though my faith still isn't completely where I would like it to be, I am working on my relationship with Jesus. I finally feel like I am where I am meant to be at this time, and at this time when it should happen. While there could be questions about the students' theological interpretations here, that's why we have him in our theology classes, but I do appreciate what he is saying about the impact that students see here and that they experience impact in mind, body, and spirit so that they can serve Christ in the church and in the world. I'm happy to give Ryan a little bit of a chance to share what's going on the Ann Arbor campus.
Thank you very much for that update from the Ann Arbor campus. We really appreciate that. Just a note, I neglected to mention something that I think is important in this conversation too. In addition to our Board of Regents being made up of really dedicated, committed members of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod and who give of their time sacrificially, we are also blessed to have a wonderful group of supportive district presidents on our Board of Regents. In fact, if I'm counting right, I think we have a total of 7 district presidents who join us at the Board of Regents, either as part of their appointment or service or as an advisor. So certainly the Board of Regents has very strong theological leadership from those presidents, and we are most grateful to them. So Dr. Cario, a number of people again have asked about the presidential search. So we put the link into the chat. Hopefully everyone is finding that okay. Cario, Dr. Peterson was just talking about the Ann Arbor campus. It's been a good number of years, I think from 2013, since the two campuses officially joined together as one university, but 2 residential campuses. Could you just summarize? We have a lot of alumni who are joining us today. What have been some of the joys and challenges of that? And then we'll turn to Dr. Peterson to talk about enrollment at the Ann Arbor campus since the time of the merger.
I'll be happy to do that. The joys and challenges are very similar. In some ways, it was a very easy merger in that our two institutions in 2013 were very similar in terms of connection to the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, a commitment to Lutheran higher education, a connection and a support of church work programs, and I think in many ways a similar challenge, or a similar challenge of what does it mean to be a Christian institution in an increasingly secular world, and especially a Christian institution that, unlike congregations that are very right-hand kingdom, Lutheran higher education, CUWAA, has a foot in both the right-hand kingdom and the left-hand kingdom. We certainly see our mission as promoting and being a witness to our faith, being faithful to our doctrine. But the left-hand kingdom features education. Those things are again left-hand features. So in that way, the merging the two institutions was very similar. The more difficult piece came in perhaps the more mundane pieces, the relative sizes of the communities and the different aspects of our two campuses that had developed a little bit differently, figuring out how to work together, where we can combine and do things well as a university, and where we need to retain local initiative and flavor. That's been the overall value. It has not gone at least financially, we have not been able to make sure Concordia Ann Arbor is financially viable as quickly as we would like, but we are getting there. There are a good number of challenges ahead, but it's been a joy for me to be involved in this whole time, to tell the truth.
Dr. Peterson, how about what have you seen in enrollment at Ann Arbor since the merger? The question relates to where do we go right now? President Ferry, before he left, helped lead a strategic planning process that looks out over the next 5 years. What is the status of that strategic plan, and how's it going in the light of COVID and everything else going on? Is the university moving ahead or falling behind?
It is moving ahead. The strategic plan was based on several upcoming issues that we see, including the demographic cliff that I referred to earlier. Certainly, from everything we can understand, by 2025, there will be a significantly smaller pool of traditional undergraduate students, perhaps 15 or 20%. That's especially telling in the Midwest, where we draw most of our students. So we are concerned, the administrators are concerned about our traditional undergrad populations. We believe that they probably will decrease a bit. We don't know how or to what extent, but we believe that those numbers will be smaller than they are now. We remain committed to traditional undergrad education. We remain committed to preparing young men and women for church work programs and everything like that. If we can get them here, we will do that. But of course, when the Lord closes or narrows some doors, he opens others. Our strategic plan recognizes that that there are other opportunities for a Concordia education, and those are for what we call post-traditional students, men and women who are already they are not of traditional college age. They might have jobs, families, connections to their own communities, but they either need to finish a degree or add a degree or get some specific training or do some retraining. And part of the strategic plan is to provide opportunities for those students. A third piece of our plan has to do with funding of all of these students. We know that higher education is expensive, and part of the strategic plan is to find non-tuition sources of funding to help students afford a Concordia education. I think I'll finish up with that.